Welcome to the Cool Tools Show. I'm Mark Frauenfelder, Editor-in-Chief of Cool Tools, a website of tool recommendations written by our readers. You can find us at cool-tools.org. I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin Kelly, founder of Cool Tools. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, it's great to be here.
In each episode of the Cool Tools Show, Kevin and I talk to a guest about some of his or her favorite uncommon and uncommonly good tools they think others should know about. Our guest this week is Duane Swierczynski. Duane is an award-winning author of crime novels, comic books, audio dramas, and other violent amusements. His story Lush was included in last year's Best American Mystery Stories, edited by Jonathan Lethem and Otto Penzler. I'm a huge fan of your work, Duane. As you know, I think I read some of your novels and contacted you and told you how much I enjoyed them. Really cool thriller, mystery kinds of novels. Great stuff. So I'm thrilled to have you on the podcast.
So glad to be here, Mark. Thank you so much. And good to meet you, Kevin. Great to be here.
Yeah. Looking forward to what you're suggesting that we should pay attention to.
Oh, great.
And the first one is near and dear to my heart because I, too, have recently discovered the versatility and utility of Apple's Notes application. So let's hear what you're using it for.
Sure. It's funny. At first, like everybody, I dismissed Notes as a very lousy word processor, right? It's just this thing. It's like, okay. But then I kind of, on a whim, had my phone one day, this is maybe 8 years ago, and I just had an idea for a story and I jotted it down. And it was so handy having it just access to it wherever I was, home, on the phone. And it kind of was forgiving. It was so simple that I couldn't screw it up even. So I've tried mobile versions of Word. I've tried Final Draft Mobile. And they're all fine. this is so simple that, when you have ideas, I don't know how this happens to you or not, but for me, ideas come fast and furious in the shower, while I'm walking, if I'm eating somewhere, So having that kind of able to pull out the phone, jot down some ideas. And over the years, it's kind of ballooned where it becomes now my spare brain. And I actually have to plot things in Notes before I kind of jump to the Word document or the Final Draft document, which is bizarre, but it's almost a psychological thing at this point. This little yellow tablet is my thing, that
Right.
I have to get all my thoughts out, all my lousy ideas before they make it to my precious, Word document.
So, and how do you use it? Do you start a new file, or do you have a kind of a general file that you just put things into and then move them out later?
It's funny. I have many files, and I actually did last year a house cleaning. I have maybe 400 files of just nonsense. The things either finished projects or abandoned projects. So I kind of cleaned house, and now I'm down to 100, I think, where it's idea germs, works in progress, every little thing. I mean, I even do, this is stupid, but grocery lists. It's just so easy.
Sure.
Or errand lists. As I get older, it's like, what did I mean to come here for? Oh, that's right. So it is my spare brain.
Do you have any problems finding a file when you're thinking something and you think, well, I should put that into the I don't know, the podcast file.
Right.
And then you find that and put it in, or is it easy to find those files when you want to?
It is when I consider it. It's almost like archaeology. If it's an older idea I had, I remember, last summer I had this idea, and sure enough, I dig back about roughly a year ago. I'm not kidding. It's sort of, I know kind of where it'll fall. And there it is, this layer of ideas that I can jump into. And then, how it sort of resets itself where type something new or a new idea, it goes to the top of the list. So
last time you wrote into it, it moves it up to the top.
Exactly. Yeah.
One of the things that helped transfer my use of, which I also am a user, is when I figured out that I could dictate into it.
Right.
If you hit the microphone in the keyboard, you talk into it and transcribes it into it real time.
Wow, I didn't realize that. This is great.
Yes,
okay.
That's the whole thing. You don't have to type it. You just talk into it, and it's typing for you.
Oh, that's so funny because I don't trust my own voice. That's the thing. I don't trust me enough to talk it out loud. I'm very much a use my fingers and have it appear on a screen kind of guy. I'll try it. I just don't trust myself right now, but I'll try it.
Yeah. For notes, I think I can't write that way, but for making kind of notes and thinking out loud, it's really does work. It's an amazingly accurate transcription too.
That's excellent. I'll give it a shot then. That's wonderful.
So, Duane, a question about it. Did you find, because I don't have 400 notes in there, but did it bog it down to have that many, or is it as snappy as ever?
It's really snappy. I think it's so lean as it is. I've never had a problem finding something and having it load, it just is always there, and that's pretty great.
And I found the search is actually pretty good. So that's what I've been winding up doing is I'll just search for things, not even trying to scroll. I'll just immediately search because it's actually pretty good because it searches into the document, not just the titles. And so
that's so true. I mean, it really is. That's so true. I mean, I have done that too, where it's like, okay, I can't find this line I was thinking of, and it pops it up immediately. So that's great.
Right.
Do you use Word to write your novels when you're like actually doing the actual writing? Or
I do because I've used it since college. Word was like the early versions of Word was the default program we all had, and I never changed. I've heard of Scrivener, of course, and friends have recommended it. I've tried other things, but I'm just Word does seem a little bloated. Over the years, it's gotten better, I think. But it's what I know, and I have no good excuse other than it's what I know.
Sure. That makes sense.
Do you use the online version at all, the cloud version of Word, or do you stick with the PC version?
I do. Actually, I've been subscribing to the cloud version, I guess maybe 5 or 6 years now. It seems just cheaper in the long run and easier to update year to year. So, yeah.
Well, you also, I'm not I think maybe it's called Microsoft One, that is the more Google Doc-like thing where actually you can do collaboration on the same doc on the cloud. So it does what the Google Doc thing where you have you're sharing it's in the cloud.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
So if you're having to edit or working with editors, you may want to consider that too.
That's excellent. And always the impulse to me is to go back to, like, a friend gave me last year a gorgeous 1930s Underwood manual typewriter that needs restoration, but like I really want to just someday unplug for a summer and old-fashioned crank out a crime novel with pages. And I started that way in high school, and I can do it. I know I can do it, sort of, but I'm so spoiled by all these things you mentioned, like, having my spare brain in my phone. That's just so great. Versus I'm a little afraid to go back to like pen and ink, for a novel, but I gotta try it sometime.
Neil Stephenson famously still writes his out longhand on the first draft, but then
amazing. Wow.
With the fountain pen.
With the fountain pen, but he brings it back in once he starts to do the little editing that he does. But so he does kind of both. But he likes that. He likes this sort of what's the word I want? The pace of having to write it out in longhand. My problem is I can no longer read my own handwriting even 5 seconds after I write it. I mean, I literally can't.
Same here. I mean, I type like Martin Scorsese on uppers. I'm furious and fast. Just go and I'll fix later is my credo. Like, just get it out there and fix it later. Make it pretty later.
Interesting.
So, do you have any problems writing a first draft, or does that you just plow through it?
I give myself the grace to say this is all crap anyway, so just go for it, and then I fix later. I guess I psych myself into it by saying this will be garbage. That's okay. It's always garbage. Just keep going.
So do you have like a number of words per day that you aim for, or hours that you work on, or what's your schedule like?
Roughly, I do shoot for 1,000. If I do 1,000 words in a day, it feels like I've won the lottery. It's great, When I don't do that, it feels like, I'm a failure. But so I try to, stick with 1,000.
Okay, that's a pretty ambitious.
That's a good quota. Yeah.
For nonfiction, if I did 1,000 a day, I'd be really.
I read that Tom Wolfe's quota was 150 words a day.
Wow. Well, funny
that's just a minimum. That's just a minimum.
Right.
So.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I guess so, yeah.
It's funny. To your point, Kevin, I am working on a true crime sort of nonfiction thing, and that you're right. That takes so much time because I'm a former fact checker, so I'm constantly checking my stuff, and I don't want to lay anything down that's not accurate. So I spend like all day, sometimes in a paragraph on something because, you want to get it right.
Well, for me, it's also my nonfiction writing is a way of thinking, and I don't even know what I'm writing to figure out what I think. So it's all about trying to think clearly, and that's what takes the time. Is like I don't even know what I'm thinking. I have to figure this out. So I'm writing it to figure it out, and it's just very painful.
No, that makes sense completely.
So we're talking about tools. You have Apple's Notes. Unless you have another writing tool, which we would love to hear, what's another tool that you suggest?
Well, the one I discovered this past year, thanks to the pandemic, was the Weber Q gas grill. And I know that's not revolutionary, but for me, it was a game changer because at our apartment complex, we used to have grills. You shared grills. It was awesome. We had just a balcony, tiny little balcony here, and no space to grill. But when the pandemic happened, grills closed. We were trapped inside, and then my entire repertoire of cooking went out the window. So I can't cook except if I'm heating over flames. So I did some research and found this gas grill that's this tiny. I call it the noisy cricket, inspired by that Men in Black weapon. Remember that, the little tiny gun they have?
Yeah.
So it fits in the patio, and it's kind of wonderful. It's, again, very spare. It's like the grilling version of Apple Notes. It's like this nothing but tiny surface for flames, and I can just cook an amazing amount of things for my small family here, and that was a game changer.
Could you describe how big it is, and
sure, it looks
size scale?
Roughly, it's I've had typewriters just as big as this thing, where it's imagine a manual typewriter, and then it comes with a stand, so it gives a little height to it to grill on, but you can actually take it camping in the back of your car. It's that small. But the way it's designed, it's almost bowl-like, so there's not much width and depth, but there's height to it. You can actually squeeze. I fit in, a rack of ribs somehow in there, defying space and time.
So the surface area would be like, I don't know, 6 hamburgers or something like that.
Yeah, I can do 8. Roughly,
okay.
If you're like not a mammoth, but exactly. You can't do a lot, and I have a family where my wife's pescatarian, my son's picky. I'm a goat. I'll eat anything. So I'm often making 3 different things on a grill, and I can somehow make it work usually. So that to me was just, again, it sounds minor, but on a small patio, it also opened my world up to like, oh, I can grill and live sort of quote normally for a few months.
And did you look at a bunch of kind of compact miniature grills and decided this was the best, or how do you think this compares with other dwarf grills?
Yeah.
I don't know what you call these things.
That's very funny. I did actually. I did a lot of looking, and there are a lot of camping sized grills, but some reviews were saying, oh, this burns easily, or this won't last very long. And I'm a longtime Weber fan anyway. And then I found a YouTube kind of YouTube caster or YouTube guy who had an entire series based on, he called it his fire escape griller videos. And he literally, somewhere in Brooklyn, he grills on his fire escape with the same thing, the Weber Q. And I thought, oh, this guy can do it. I can do it too.
Okay.
And he was my guru, so I trusted in him.
The Weber Q.
Weber Q.
It says gas grill, meaning that it's hooked up to propane?
Exactly. You can I at first bought those little screw-in camping gas canisters, and that's fine, but it burns out pretty quick. So I bought the hose, and I actually have a full-size tank next to it, which I found most people do with that. It's just easier.
Right, and the tank is probably much bigger than the grill.
Oh yeah, it really is actually. Yeah, that's the biggest part of the gear.
So on a related note, you have a cookbook, and this is interesting because the co-author Hugh Garvey was my editor for many years at the Industry Standard, which was a technology magazine, and then he made the move over to the Bon Appetit magazine. So I didn't even know he had this book out, but that's really cool. Tell us about this, Trejo's Tacos.
Sure. Yes, it's Danny Trejo, the actor and restaurant owner, has a book came out this spring called Trejo's Tacos, and it's funny, it's small world. Hugh Garvey wrote for me, actually. I was an editor at Details magazine way back in the late 90s.
Wow.
That's how I know Hugh from that era. Yeah, so small world. It's kind of strange. So when I saw his name, I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be great. And again, Danny Trejo is like one of my heroes. I was, of course, a no-brainer. When I bought it, though, and I kind of started looking through it, it was so inviting and so warm and so kind of friendly, just like Trejo himself, that it's like, okay, I can do this. This Polish boy from Philadelphia can actually make halfway decent carne asada and not feel like he's, faking it. So that was the best part of this. It would get kind of, again, expanded our repertoire of what to make when you're stuck inside.
Right. So the question I have these days, because I've fallen down the YouTube hole completely, 100%. Yeah. It's like, why are people looking at books when there is the YouTube? Because it seems like a better way to learn things.
Right.
Do you have a feeling that the book format here, in this case, is really the way to go?
Yeah, I really do, because there's great photographs of what the meal is supposed to look like, really clear ingredient list. I guess I think still like it doesn't feel real unless it's in book form for me sometimes. I'll watch a video, and it's fine. I'll learn, but I'm also scrambling to write notes down and the ingredient list. This is all here, and I can take it around and prop it up, crack it open on the next to the grill and figure out what I'm doing, or the kitchen, to make say a spice mix or something. So that's I'm a diehard book guy. I'll I'll always have more books than I can fit in my living space. So that's just how I am.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Carla and I often eat at Trejo's Tacos when we're seeing a movie at the ArcLight, and it's a great taco place. So I'm definitely getting this book because they're awesome tacos.
And what's great is they actually have a lot of vegetarian versions too. Because my wife, being a pescatarian, doesn't eat the carne or the anything else. But there's a lot of, I think Danny himself, Trejo, is vegetarian, I believe,
really?
or eats very little meat, if any. Yeah, so it's very vegetarian friendly, which is, we also love his restaurants for that reason. It's very appeals to everybody. So that's the
potato tacos,
yeah, even like cauliflower tacos, which sounds like an abomination, but you know what?
Good.
It's pretty good.
They're awesome. Yeah. Well, this is a great pick, and thanks for bringing it to my attention. I'm definitely getting this.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. So next up on the list is something called esoteric webinars. That sounds perfect.
Esoteric.
Yes. Have you guys heard of these? This local tour group?
No, we haven't.
Well, this wouldn't qualify before this podcast. I mean, before this pandemic, wouldn't qualify because their tours were in person. Basically, it's Kim and Richard. They do these bus tours of LA, and they're sometimes literary, or sometimes crime skewed. They're always fascinating, or deep dives in LA's history. But since the pandemic happened, they couldn't, of course, safely put people in a enclosed space. So after months of sort of trying to figure out what to do, they had the idea to do a webinar, and basically, it's their tour distilled down into like maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, and it's the best deep dive into given topics. And it's $10. You sign up anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, I guess you can sign up for it and tune in live, or you have a week to watch it later. And for example, they did a Raymond Chandler tour 2 weeks ago. Now, I've been reading Chandler for 30 years. I think I know everything about Chandler. This taught me like a dozen new things I had no idea about. That's how deep they dive into their subjects, and they're funny, they're quirky, I love these guys. They're just bizarre.
It looks great
in a good way.
And so the way that the webinar works is that it's like a travel documentary, or are they interacting with you at the same time?
They appear like it's sort of a combination. It's a weird hybrid of they appear on screen and they'll show you almost a slideshow behind them or little film clips, and they'll bring in guests, but if they can fade themselves away so you can focus on the picture they're showing, or the map or the crime scene, for instance. And it really works. I mean, it's maybe they're 7-8 weeks into it, and there's still few bugs to work out, but they're incredible. They really are. It's fascinating.
But they're not necessarily interacting with the audience in that sense.
They are, because you can actually there's a Q&A box.
There is. All right.
They use a thing called bigmarker.com as their service, and it works really well. They considered Zoom, but they found this one worked better for their needs. So you can ask questions live and interact with them, and it's pretty great.
Cool. And right now, but the subject matter is generally kind of revolving around LA?
It's all LA, so if you ever want a cheap vacation to LA for $10, this is what you do. No travel required. And but honestly, even fans of true crime and crime fiction especially, I think would go crazy for this. And I've actually known about these guys long before I moved here, and I'd sometimes plan business trips here based on their tours. Like, I can be out in mid-April when they have the Black Dahlia tour. I go on the tour. It was just, but so to have this access to this now, that's kind of one of the silver linings, I guess, of this whole situation, is that anyone can access it now and be part of that fun.
It looks really good. I want to check out the Charles Bukowski LA webinar on November 14th.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds really cool.
I took the real life tour 12 years ago or 9, or whatever. And I think the actual tour, when you're actually visiting, Bukowski's old apartment, you go to his favorite liquor store and buy a cheap can of beer in his honor and toast him. That's all fun. I miss that.
Yeah.
But you can have your beer at home if you want, and not have to be in a crowded bus. So that's pretty great.
So cool.
Right. And I guess, for those who may not be as interested in LA, it might certainly be a format or a genre that they could apply to somewhere else in the world. And let it proliferate and have more of these around the world might be great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Philadelphia, so I've been on my share of historic tours, and they're always great. But I haven't quite found those kind of deep dive type tours like these guys do. And I do wish they would spread to other cities. Like I'd happily go on a Chicago tour, or go to New Orleans, anywhere. I mean, that would be wonderful. This became a franchise almost of weird people giving you these deep dives. I love that.
There was some people who were doing secret San Francisco tours.
Oh, okay.
But again, as you say, I haven't seen much of them recently.
One thing I was dying to do when the world's normal again is do the Dashiell Hammett tour in San Francisco. That's one thing I've missed that I've wanted to do for years. I heard it's great, the walking tour of his locations.
That sounds really good.
So those nerdy picks.
Why don't you tell us about the book drive that you run and the reason that you do it?
It's very sad. I mean, I don't want to bum everyone out, but 2 years ago we lost our daughter Evie to leukemia. Actually, she had a bone marrow transplant, and the complications were too much, and we lost her. She, every parent, thinks, of course, their kid's the funniest and the smartest, but she really was. She's hilarious. Her spirit was just, it was like losing her was like a sitcom losing its guest star, its guest. It's like the Happy Days minus the Fonz. She was everything. And she was a big reader, like her parents. So in the hospital, there's a program that was called, this is Children's Hospital LA is where she had treatment, and a program called Literally Healing, where basically a book cart rolls up and every kid can choose a new book every day, to help pass the time and, take escape from their situation. So when we lost her, we decided, some friends said, let's have a book drive in her honor. And it kind of ballooned from there. And this is our 3rd year. And every year it doubles. And I'm very happy just the turnout from everyone, all over who want to give, put books in the hands of sick kids. So it's kind of become a thing we do now to, honor her memory.
You say a turnout. So what is, I'm not really sure how the drive works or what's turning out.
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. It's ever expanding. So at first it was just a bookstore here in Burbank. Dark Delicacies started it. Then we had friends in Philadelphia with their indie bookstore joined in, and then a store in Houston. Now you can go and drop off books in person.
Okay, so you're actually bringing books. You have books, and you're bringing those books to this place, and you're donating books. Is that right?
Yes. But if you live anywhere else in the country, you can actually go to either our Amazon Wishlist, and there's a whole list that my wife has gathered of just hundreds of books that will appeal to kids, and it's sent to our PO box. But we're the two of us are the ones getting them from the giant packages and organizing books. And every year it's kind of great to bring them down to the raised and pass. Last week we raised 2,000 books, and that was pretty special.
Well, I'm always giving away books, and this would be a great place. I wonder if I could mail you a package or something. Or
you sure can. Yeah, I include you guys the link. It's Team Evie Foundation, and all the information is there better than I can explain it as far as where to send stuff. And it really is. It's kind of heartening. Last Friday was the 2-year mark, and we spent the day at the post office box, and we were blown away by how many books. Like there was 2 giant carts waiting for us of just people who just wanted to donate. And it was really amazing. We kind of joked that Evie was kind of chuckling at us like, you want this? I'll give it to you, kind of thing. And it was really, really special. So, again, I don't want to be, too much of a bummer, but this is, it takes a situation that's very sad, but we can't say how much we love putting books in the hands of kids, because she would have wanted that.
It sounds like a very worthy project.
And for kids, is there kind of an age that you think about for kids, like kids through high school or kids through elementary school?
Through anywhere from elementary school through high school. Even adult books are accepted too, because parents can take part as well and choose an adult title from the cart. But mostly it's looking for especially Spanish language books, books about diversity that was important to her. So the list we kind of gathered just tries to cover every possible interest out there, and the kids love it. They really do.
That sounds great. We will have a link to this in the show notes for sure, Duane. TeamEvieFoundation.com. Duane, this has been so great talking to you and finding out about your tools. Are you working on a new novel besides your nonfiction project?
I am actually, and I have a thing. I wish I could talk about it. I wrote an audio drama with another writer who you all know. I can't see who it is because it's all secret. It's not my news to announce, but it was kind of funny that I've done, novels, I've done comics, but doing audio drama, it's like all you have is dialogue, sound effects, and maybe a little music. So that was like a great challenge to sort of It was a 10-episode murder mystery, very complicated, and I loved it. It was like, okay, this is all I have to work with. Let's do this. And it was all, I wrote it the first half of this year. The one also plus of the pandemic is that there are a lot of actors who are kind of just sitting around. Mm-hmm. So we actually have an incredible cast. I wish I could tell you more about this because I'm really excited about it, but look for it first half of next year. It'll be a big deal when it's out.
Is it going to be like a podcast? How is an audio drama released these days?
Through Audible. Audible kind of has, it's almost like an audio book, but it's episodes. I don't know if you guys heard the adaptation of Neil Gaiman's Sandman comic, which was wonderful. They really went through and adapted it. It's wonderful. They it sounds daunting. They adapted, I think, the first 3 or 4 graphic novels into, I want to say, 10 episodes. And it's, big name actors. The sound design is incredible. I mean, that too was a great escape this summer.
Cool.
Going through all of that. You think, how can you do a graphic novel minus the images? They pull it off somehow. That was really incredible to see. Or listen to.
Well, wait, thank you so much. This has been great.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Great talking to you guys.
Hey everybody, it's your co-host Mark, and I wanted to let you know that we have a lot more going on here in Cool Tools than just this podcast. We have our flagship website where we review a new tool every day. That's at cool-tools.org. We also have 4 different newsletters. We have this podcast. We have a YouTube channel where we review tools. And if you like what you hear and see and read, the best way to help us out is by going to our Patreon page at patreon.com/cooltools and donate at any level you wish. You can even contribute $1 a month, and that would mean a lot to us. The money that you give us will go towards paying for our transcribing costs, editing videos, and editing the podcast. It goes towards paying contributors who write the reviews for us. It goes towards our equipment costs, our hosting costs, and it supports our very small company of 3 people. This week, I wanted to give a shout out to some of our Patreon supporters who have been giving us at least $2 a month. And if you give us $2 a month, we'll give you a shout out online. And this week, I would like to thank Michael Sakochia, Molly Starr, M. Velderman, Opposable Thumbs, Pamela Cooley, Patrick Weyer, Paul Hosey, Randy Fisher, Stuart Burroughs Brand, Synaptic Sam, Therese Schwartz, Tom Hawkins, Tom Markham, What Bear, Javier Pangolin, David Lang, Eric Byers, Sean Hartley, Stephen Powell, Greg Lichtscheit, John Hobson, Adam Bristol, Adam Naher, Anonymous, Bill Kempthorne, Bruce I. Niles, Chris Woodruff, C. Kolos, Daryl Flynn, Egg Fleegoff, Eric Hanschrau, Eric Hoover, Godfrey Saldana, Jay Skiles, John M. Larson, Jude Galligan, Kenneth Gilman, and Lucas Frank. Thank you very much for supporting the show, and we will see you next week.